Hello and welcome to the session. In today's session, we'll be discussing about four basic aspects. One is about email service, about the chat, about the search engines, and about the security issues on the internet. However, we will be just introducing some of the basic issues related to these topics in this particular session. Well, the very first thing whenever you are dealing with internet is about searching the internet, right? And for searching the internet, what we require a search tool, right? So a search engine is a tool to search diverse sources of information which are available on internet. If I want to search the internet, then what I require is a search engine. And technically speaking, search engine is also another website, technically speaking. However, that is a very special website because the website of that search engine allows us to search various pieces of information on the internet very easily. Well, there are three types of search engine which are there. The first one is the primary search engine, are called primary search engine or search engines. Okay, the second one are called web directories, and the third are called meta search engines. Well, the primary search engine, if I would like to say something like they use web crawlers or spiders to traverse the web and scan websites for keywords, phrases to generate database and web pages having some indexing or classification. Google and Alta Vista are examples of primary search engine. Okay, these are the few initial names. Then came some of the search engine at that point of time were something like web directories. So web directories organize information into categories and subcategories or directories, some such as yahoo.com is an example of web directory. So the web directory was primarily collection. So it's sort of a collection. And the third one were the meta search engine. Now these are all yesteryear's search engines, okay, which collected and compiles information from several web browsers using a search engine. So these are all the three types of search engine which used to exist. But how did these search engines work? Now that is very important to understand. Now if we go to internet today, our search engines are slightly different from what has been talked about in the slides. However, why we have covered those search engines? Like Alta Vista, it no longer existing, in one of the greatest way. But the idea is that you should know a little bit about the history of search engines and how exactly they work. And for that, we must try to understand the working principle of search engine. Well, so how does search engine work? Well, spidering or web crawling, that is going to be the first step when a search engine starts working for information onto the net. The next step it does is called indexing, and the third and the final thing thereafter you do is basically searching. Okay, so based on your key terms, it does the searching. Okay, so these are the three basic things which it does. What does the search engine do in spidering? Now, as you know, internet is full of information. Large amount of information is available at different various websites or huge number of websites which are there. So something or a tool is required, a software is required, which basically may visit every website in basically background only. It need not be like it may be doing right now as you give the information for search. No, that particular information should go on forever kind of things. Why? Because it's it doesn't last. Right? The internet is so huge. The content at the internet is so huge that it's not going to last even if that particular search engine keeps on working for many years, right? So it keeps the web crawler, the job of web crawler is basically, a web crawler is a program that browses the web pages in systematic automated manner for accessing updated data on websites. All right. So it creates a copy of pages visited by them for later processing to create index. So web crawler's job is just to visit the web pages and collect information. And since many pages are there where information might have changed, even that information is to be recorded by a web crawler, right? So web crawler's job is going to be only collecting the information, huge amount of information. But that huge amount of information then needs to be transferred into, it needs to be transferred into some kind of indexing, right? So once the spider completes the task of finding the information, search engine stores it for retrieval later. Information related to relevance of relevance of information may be in the form of ranking. Now here lies the key aspect of page ranking. Whenever you do a search onto the web, what you see answers as few pages. Now, which of the link is shown as number 1 and why it is being shown as number 1? Have you questioned that? Well, the process is definitely crawling. So crawling is going to take place of all the web pages, and it will be followed by indexing of the key terms which are stored onto those web pages. So if you are looking forward to, let's say, Java programming, if you are looking forward to electrical engineering, if you are looking forward to computer science, right? So all these terms, all those pages which has these terms, right, might be selected. But how will they be displayed, right? And that aspect in the indexing is called basically the ranking. And ranking is one of the most difficult algorithm which was produced by Google. In fact, Google had created huge number of data centers where all the web crawlers used to deposit the information, and from there the era of big data started creeping in. Right, the era of big data processes started creeping in, and what you are getting is today, what you are seeing the results of many things today, that when you just input the term, you get the results very, very fast, right? So that is the era now. So indexing, basically example of data stored keywords or web pages, basically number of times the word appeared on that particular page, the URL of that page, the formula for assigning weight to the keywords, etc., are there. But in indexing you are doing that. However, page ranking also uses linking of various websites. And some of the websites which are most important are also part of basically assigning weights or kind of assigning which page should be ranked higher than other page. So that is something I think you should go through the Google PageRank algorithm. And there is a paper by Larry Page onto that particular for that particular algorithm. And if you can understand it, then probably you have understood half of the search engine mechanism, which basically is going on onto the this internet. Well, finally, we move on to searching. When a user enters into a query into a search engine, the engine examines an index and provides a list of best matching web pages according to the ranking criteria. So that ranking criteria which we were referring to, it is not just term frequency. All right, it is nothing to do with the term frequency, but it is everything to do with web linking and where exactly you will be landing up after a while. So which are the pages which are slightly more precious web pages. So they might be getting some kind of higher ranking. In addition to doing like search engine, what you should know about knowing about how search engines are working, what you should know is about how to enter terms for web searching. all right, so that you get the best results. Well, a typical situation where, for example, if you are searching for Java tutorials, right, then a good idea will be type Java tutorial into the search box. That if you do that, then technically speaking, Java or tutorial, all those pages which has either Java or tutorial or Java tutorial, all may appear or get some ranking. However, if you assign the keyword Java and tutorial, so what you can do actually, Java and tutorial is if you put Java tutorial into quotes, double quotes. If you do that as a string, then what you are going to get will be better closely matching kind of results. So that kind of a thinking you have to do in terms of when you are doing the web searching. So the two things are very, very important for you to understand. First thing, how internet does the web crawling, or basically the search engine performs the job of searching for information onto the web. Although you will not be concerned about it, you will only be concerned about getting the information, but knowing about it is a good idea. You will know the reason later on when you will be going to an industry and will be talking to people about it. Like suppose you have started a new business, then you want your page to appear earlier. So how, on what way you can do those kinds of things, right? Ethically, not unethically. All right. So that is something which you can think of. Okay. So, and the next thing is how to do the search in a best possible manner. How to enter information onto the search engine's search bar. All right. So that way, whether you would like to use quotation or not quotations and so on and so forth. In fact, now the scenario has changed to a great extent. With the coming of those large language models and artificial intelligence into picture, what you get, in addition to the searched results, you also get some Gemini, which is Google. Suppose you do it in Google, then Gemini of Google, which is basically large language model of Google, will give you some initial information about that particular topic. You may or may not like it, but that is how it is. Okay. So nowadays the things have come to a completely different situation, or it is completely different these days. Well, anyway, that is something which you will keep on learning as you keep on doing search on internet. Let's move on to another situation, which is email. Okay, the application, web application to email is one of the most important application which you use on internet. So internet-based email system was designed by Ray Tomlinson in 1971. And he used a file transfer protocol to send electronic message to any computer on a local network on an ARPANET. ARPANET was basically the initial form of our internet. Now, this is just basic information about email. But most of you are very much familiar with email. Sending email is one of the easiest thing when you are utilizing computer. And this is another web application. But here also we would like to talk about 2 or 3 basic things which you should know as an engineer. The first thing which we would like to talk about is called the protocol. What kind of protocol this mail transfer uses? Well, that mail transfer between 2 servers or across any server is basically the job of SMTP, which is basically Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. All right. This was actually the first important email standard which was developed. So the job of this Simple Mail Transfer Protocol was to allow transfer of mail across any server from one server to any other server in this particular situation. All right. then one of the drawbacks associated with this particular SMTP protocol is that there is no inbuilt verification of sender. And that led to a major vulnerability which allows email spoofing. All right. And what is being done? So you need to be careful. You need not be 100% sure about the sender. All right. And that is why cryptography oriented stuff has come into market. All right. Which basically digital signature and all those things, where you can be sure of that this particular mail has been sent by the person whom he claims to be or she claims to be. Okay. So here the important thing what you should read is that an attacker can send an email that appears to originate from a trusted source, right? But the mail is coming from a different source, and that is because of the vulnerability of SMTP protocol. So you need to be careful. Okay, you need to be sure of the server from where you are actually receiving it. Nowadays, the servers are quite smart. They are able to track down the origin of the email and compare it with that. But SMTP does not do that. There are other methods of doing that particular thing. Then you should know two more protocols in addition to that. One is called POP protocol. The purpose of POP protocol, which is also called Post Office Protocol. Okay, the name is very close to what we do. I mean, what we used to have earlier, the post office, right? So, Post Office Protocol. And the purpose of Post Office Protocol is that it contacts email server to download all the new mail messages onto the server from which you are connected. All right. It may not be a mail server. It may be a computer. So suppose you are connected from a computer to mail server, right? So POP will allow that particular mail server, will allow from the mail server, all the new mail messages come to your server. The drawback here was that it would delete messages from the server. All right. And it is not suitable when you use multiple devices. Now you must have seen that you have your you have installed your mail applications onto mobile application, smartphone. You have one particular instance at your office, and suppose you have a computer at your home. Even at that place, you have installed the same mail, the mail thing. So it's not going to work, because if suppose you are accessing the mail from your mobile, then POP will download it onto your mobile only, and other two is not, and it will be deleted from the mail server. So it won't be available if you want to download the mail at your home also. Right? So like that kind of a problem will occur. So therefore, a new protocol was also developed, which was called IMAP protocol. Right? So IMAP allows you to access email account without downloading or storing it on the computer. All right. The messages are read from the email services, and IMAP is recommended when checking emails using several devices such as phone, laptop, etc. So you can read onto the server. IMAP allows you to get a copy. Basically, you're just reading onto your copy, and the actual things are happening onto the mail server, right? So now this particular thing is very easy because everything is synced now, all right? In the sense that if your mobile application as well as your desktop computer at home and desktop computer at the office, they will have the similar kind of mail messages. However, they need to connect to the mail server in order to get this particular information. But at least the synchronization is the key in this particular situation. So as far as email is concerned, these are some of the things, but just want to tell you that two facilities of email you must utilize. One is called the address book. If you are not utilizing them, then start using it, right? And the second one which you should use whenever you are trying to send messages to some of your colleagues, and that you should attach some kind of signature with that particular email messages. All right, rest I think most of you would be familiar. Otherwise, there are a lot many websites, and our content is also there. You can go through and you will be knowing about various things which you should do along with the emails. Next comes the chat. Well, chat servers are Yahoo Messenger, Gtalk, Rediffball, a lot many. These are some old servers, newer servers are also there. And they are downloaded and installed chat server on your choice. Now, chat is technically a two-way communication, right? So, email is basically asynchronous communication, whereas chat allows you two-way communication. So, suppose you want to do a typical talk with your friend, all right, then chat may be a better option. And these days voice chat options are also available, right? So you don't have to type in the content, and you can actually send the voice chat to the people over there, right? So the chat software, basically it says chat software, it supports textual, voice and video chatting. Electronic avatars can be made available. Then options of private messages to individual, file transfer process, and are also possible. Graphics, emojis can be used. So these days chats are very, very powerful and very useful whenever you are dealing with two-way communication kind of a situation. So you should use computers like web. This is another web application. So what web applications we have talked about? Basically 3 web applications so far. The first web application we actually talked about the search engine, and search engine is one of the most important component, or that is why actually the internet became very popular, right? The second thing then we have talked about the email. Email is one of the most used applications as far as computer is concerned. And the third one we talked about chat. But when we are talking about all these applications, what stands out is the security of these applications. All right. And when we talk about security, we may go to quite deep, but at the top level, when we talk about security, there are 3 basic aspects of security. Well, those 3 security aspects basically are called CIA, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Well, confidentiality says no unauthorized person should be able to read or copy information that he or she is not supposed to read. Integrity means no unauthorized person should be able to modify information. And availability means no unauthorized person should be able to erase information or make it inaccessible. In fact, many a times you might be hearing different kinds of attacks. They all revolve around these 3 basic aspects of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So try to relate these particular things. For each of these security threats, you really need to perform in a different way. All right, like confidentiality kind of an aspects may be covered with the help of, may be protected with the help of cryptography, right? So in fact, cryptography is considered to be one of the worst enemy as far as getting information or leaking information is concerned. Then integrity is also once again, cryptography and integrity, they are somehow quite related to each other, and secure protocol have to be followed. But availability, as far as things are concerned, you might have heard like something like DDoS attacks and so on and so forth, right? So denial of services attacks. So, and then DDoS is distributed denial of service attacks. So basically people are denying you access to servers, right? And that particular, so that is one of the ways of or way of dealing with that particular situation. So lot many attacks are going to be there, and lot many countermeasures are being taken. It is, whenever you are dealing with electronics, this is one of the situation. So attackers might keep on attacking and defenders keep on defending. So, however, our responsibility is to keep our security tight. And there are directions from different, I think, vendors as well as even government. Lot many directions have been given by the government to all of us that what we should follow as far as internet security is concerned. So let us now try to sum up this particular session. So what we discussed in this particular session is about email services, the search engine, the chat, and the security threat on the internet. However, this is just an introduction. Think about all these things in greater details, learn about all these things in greater details, right? And sky is the limit, right? Thank you so much for being with me.